Hello children, today we will start with the lesson Yonamine and Bushi. This lesson is a story about a girl called Yonamine from a place called Okinawa. Let us read and understand what is the story all about. Yonamine Chiru was the most admired girl in Okinawa. She was intelligent, tall, strong, big and beautiful. And most important of all, she was so well trained in karate that no one could beat her. When it was time to get her married, her father, who was a rich merchant, began to worry. He loved his daughter and wanted her to be happy and well cared for. She was beautiful and she would inherit a fortune from him. But where could he find a young man who could come forward to marry a woman who was stronger than him? Yonamine had her own ideas about marriage. She declared firmly, I will only marry a man who can beat me in a fair fight. Surprisingly, many young men picked up the challenge and came forward to fight her. After all, she was a beautiful girl with a fortune. Many wrestlers were eager to win her in a contest of martial arts. Meanings: admired, regard with respect or warm approval. Inherit, receive money, property, or a title as an heir at the death of the previous holder. Fortune, a large amount of money or assets. Challenge, a task or situation that tests someone's abilities. Martial arts, various sports which originated chiefly in Japan, Korea, and China as forms of self-defense or attack, such as judo, karate, and kendo. So children, what do we know about Yonamine from this passage? Yonamine has a lot of wonderful qualities. Her father was rich, and all her father's riches would go to Yonamine on his death. Yonamine was of marriageable age, and her father was worried, and he did not know where he could find a man who would agree to marry Yonamine, especially because she was stronger than most men. On the other hand, Yonamine had kept a condition. What was the condition, children? She would marry the man who would beat her in a fair fight. Because of all the good qualities of Yonamine, many young men wanted to marry her. One of the first to ask for her hand was Kojo, who was actually bigger and stronger than Yonamine. He was so tall and well built that his hands were like shovels and his legs resembled tree trunks. But he played foul. Even as Yonamine was bowing to him in the customary sign of respect to one's opponent, he threw a punch at her, breaking the rules of the game. Yonamine was angry. She caught hold of his arm and twisted it so powerfully that the unsportive Kojo fell down in a heap and had to limp away defeated. Many promising young wrestlers tried the hand, but Yonamine defeated them all. Her father was in despair. Young men wanted to marry girls who would cook and wash and make tea for their husbands. Who would marry a girl who enjoyed wrestling? Bushi was just such a man. He had trained under the karate master Sakwa. He proved to be such an expert that he was recruited by Shoko, the king of Okinawa, to be his personal guard. Meanings: resembled, look or seem like. Customary, according to the customs or usual practices associated with a particular society, place, or set of circumstances. Opponent, someone who competes with or opposes another in a contest, game, or argument. Twisted, turn or bend into a specified position or in a specified direction. Unsportive, not sportive. In a heap, with the body completely limp. Despair, the complete loss or absence of hope. Recruited, enroll someone as a member or worker in an organization. In this passage, we see that the first person to challenge Yonamine was Kojo, who was bigger and stronger than her. When the challenge started, Kojo cheated and broke the rules of the game. And what was this rule that he broke? He threw a punch at Yonamine even as she was bowing to him. This angered Yonamine, and she twisted his arm powerfully, and Kojo fell down in a heap. Kojo was defeated. After Kojo, many men tried to defeat Yonamine, but they all lost. Bushi was trained under karate master, and he was appointed by the king of Okinawa to be his personal guard. His friends said to Bushi, "You should take on the challenge of this girl Yonamine. She may be big, but you are stronger and smarter than her." Bushi too was keen to marry a girl like Yonamine. He did not want a delicate, fragile girl for a wife. "I shall fight with her and win over her," he decided. Yonamine was impressed at the sight of a new challenger. She had heard that he was one of King Shoko's personal warriors. He was tall and slim, he stood firmly on his feet, and seemed unshakable. Above all, he had dark, piercing eyes which looked straight at the opponent and showed that he was fearless and straightforward. The wrestling match began. Yonamine and Bushi bowed to each other and then began to attack each other in earnest. They punched, kicked, and twisted, using their best techniques. It looked as if the match was going to be a tie. Nobody winning, nobody losing. Meanings: keen, having or showing eagerness or enthusiasm. Delicate, easily broken or damaged. Fragile, not strong or sturdy. Impressed, feeling or showing admiration or respect for someone or something. Challenger, a person who engages in a contest. Slim, slender, unshakable, strongly felt and unable to be changed. Piercing, having or showing shrewdness or keen intelligence. In earnest, sincere and serious in intention. Bushikyo's friends encouraged him to challenge Yonamine. Bushikyo also wanted to marry someone like Yonamine. When Yonamine saw Bushi, she was impressed. The match between Yonamine and Bushi began, and both of them fought well. But at a crucial moment in the fight, Yonamine paused ever so briefly. Bushi took advantage of the moment and brought her down with a swift punch. Yonamine's father was a very happy man. Bushi and Yonamine were married in a splendid ceremony. It was a happy marriage. Yonamine was kind and loving. She cooked and cleaned and kept the house spick and span. One day when she was sweeping the kitchen, Bushi saw her lift a huge bag of rice with her left hand as she swept beneath the bag with her right hand. He grew thoughtful. Is she really so strong? And yet, I brought her down with one punch. One day, Yonamine announced that she would like to visit her parents. "I will leave in the evening and return the next day in time to cook your dinner," she said to her husband. Meanings: crucial, of great importance. Advantage, a condition or circumstance that puts one in a favorable or superior position. Splendid, very impressive. Spick and span, neat, clean, and well looked after. Announced, make a formal statement about a fact, occurrence, or intention. In this passage, we see that Bushi defeats Yonamine and they both get married. Yonamine proves herself to be a good wife. One day, the husband notices that Yonamine, while sweeping, was able to carry a huge bag of rice with one hand. Bushi thinks that how was he able to defeat Yonamine with one punch? One day, Yonamine told Bushi that she wanted to visit her parents. She told him that she would go in the evening and return the next day. You really should not travel during the night, Bushi said to her firmly. There are bandits about. It is just not safe for a woman to go out alone after it is dark. My dear husband, you forget that you married a trained wrestler, Yonamine said to him with a smile. Don't forget that I threw you down flat on the ground, said Bushi. You are not unbeatable. Don't worry, said Yonamine. Bandits are not as skilled as you are. I can take care of myself. Bushi was not pleased. She is overconfident, he thought to himself. She must be taught a lesson for her own good. Meanings: trained, be taught through sustained practice and instruction. Unbeatable, not able to be defeated. Skilled, requiring special abilities or training. Overconfident, excessively confident. Here in this passage we see that Bushi tries to discourage Yonamine from traveling in the dark. Yonamine reminds her husband that she is a trained wrestler and can take care of herself. Bushi tells her that he had defeated her in the fight, and therefore she was not unbeatable. Yonamine tells Bushi that he was able to defeat her because he was skilled and trained, but bandits were not like him. Bushi was not very happy that Yonamine ignored his warnings, and he decides to teach her a lesson. That evening, Yonamine left to walk to her father's home. As soon as she departed, Bushi disguised himself as a bandit, wearing shabby clothes, smearing dark colors over his hands, and covering his face with a scarf. He ran as fast as he could to hide behind a clump of trees at a fork on the road. Darkness fell, and he saw Yonamine approaching the fork, from where she would take a left turn to reach her father's house. When she crossed the clump of trees, Bushi jumped out from behind the trees and tried to attack her. Yonamine was swift and sharp in her reaction to the attack. She held her attacker by the hand and kicked him with such force that the attacker fell to the ground unconscious. Yonamine trapped him and tied him to a tree with her sash. She adjusted her backpack and set off around the corner for her father's home. Meanings: departed, leave, specially in order to start a journey. Disguised, having changed one's appearance in order to conceal one's identity. Shabby, dressed in old or worn clothes. Smearing, spread a greasy or sticky substance over something. Clump of trees, a group of trees. Fork, the point where something, especially a road or river, divides into two parts. Reaction, something done, felt, or thought in response to a situation or event. Set off, begin a journey. Yonamine, as decided, left for her father's home. Bushi disguised himself as a bandit and attacked Yonamine on the way. However, she proved to be quick and managed to kick him so hard that he fainted. She tied him to a tree and continued on her journey. The next day, as she was returning home in the afternoon, she saw her bandit still tied to the tree, as she had left him the previous night. Shall I untie you now or leave you here? She asked him. Please untie me, mumbled the bandit. I beg you to forgive me. I shan't ever do this again. Swiftly she untied him and walked away quickly. She was in a hurry. She had to reach home in time to cook her husband's evening meal. Little did she realize that she had just released her husband from his captivity. That evening, quite a while after she had set the dinner ready, Bushi walked in looking tired and dull. She helped him wash and set out fresh clothes for him to wear. She invited him to have a hot meal. As Bushi sat down to dinner, he brought out a white sash from his pocket and gave it to his wife. This is yours, if I am not mistaken, he said, looking into her eyes. Oh, Bushi, was it you? I am so sorry, exclaimed Yonamine. You don't have to be sorry, said Bushi. You taught me a lesson that I won't forget all my life. And that is, don't underestimate anybody. Not even a woman? Asked Yonamine playfully. Especially not a woman, said Bushi, and they burst out laughing together. Bandit, a robber or outlaw belonging to a gang and typically operating in an isolated or lawless area. Mumbled, say something indistinctly and quietly, making it difficult for others to hear. Forgive. Stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone. Captivity, the condition of being imprisoned or confined. Underestimate, estimate something to be smaller or less important than it really is. Playfully, in a light-hearted manner. Burst out, to begin doing something suddenly. The next day, as Yonamine was returning, she saw that the bandit was still tied to the tree. On the bandit's request, she untied him and hurried back to her husband's home as she had to cook for him. That evening, when Bushi came home, she looked tired and dull. She helped him to clean up and got his meal ready. When he sat down to eat, he took the sash that Yonamine had tied him with and gave it back to her. Yonamine was sorry when she realized that the bandit that she had tied to the tree was her husband. Bushi, however, says that he has learned an important lesson. And what was that lesson, children? The lesson was that don't underestimate anyone, especially a woman. Children, with this we complete explanation for this lesson. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and take care.